Picture the drive home you just signed for a brand new luxury SUV. The paint is perfect, the leather still smells like a showroom, and the salesman shook your hand like you were family. You pull out of the lot, and somewhere in the first 100 yards, before you even reach the main road, that vehicle quietly loses more money than most people spend on a used car. You cannot see it happen. There is no warning light for it, but it is gone and it is not coming back. And here's the part almost nobody tells you. If you got 2 streets down and realized you had made a mistake, you could not just turn around and give it back. I want to be straight with you right up front, because this whole topic is built on a myth. In America, there is no such thing as returning a new car. A lot of dealerships have a little sign hanging in the finance office, and it says there is no cooling off period. They are not being cruel. They are telling you the truth. That famous 3-day rule you have heard about, the one everybody swears protects them, was written for door-to-door salesmen and hotel room sales pitches. It does not cover cars, not new ones, not for buyer's remorse, not in any state that matters. Once you drive it off, it is yours. So when you see a list of the most returned new cars, understand what it actually means. These are not cars people handed back. These are cars people paid thousands of dollars to escape from. They ate the loss, sold them right back into the market within the first year, and walked away. There is exactly one narrow door a new car can genuinely go back through, and it is not remorse, and it is not a change of heart. It is the lemon law, and it only opens when the car is actually defective, when something is truly wrong with it, and the dealer has tried and failed to fix it a reasonable number of times. Only then can the manufacturer be forced to buy it back. That is a fight. It takes paperwork and patience and sometimes a lawyer, and it has nothing to do with the cars we are talking about today. The cars on this list are not lemons. That is the whole point. They come back running perfectly fine. I have watched these vehicles come through the back lots and the auction lanes for years, nearly new, barely broken in, with a nervous first owner's short story attached to everyone. And the reason they come back has almost nothing to do with them being broken. Stay with me, because the part that should actually bother you is not the cars. It is who quietly makes money every single time one of them comes back. Let me show you what is really going on, because the numbers matter here more than the badges. On average, only about 3.5 of every 100 new cars get resold as used inside the first year. Say that number back to yourself. Better than 96 out of 100 people who buy a new car keep it past the first 12 months. Keeping your new car is the normal thing. It is what almost everyone does. So the cars that break that pattern, the ones that come flooding back nearly new, those are the exceptions. And when you line up the exceptions and look at what they have in common, they tell you a story about how people buy cars now, and about a business that is built to keep them buying. And it is worth knowing what buying a new car even means these days, because the numbers are not small. The average new vehicle in this country now goes for around $50,000. To swallow a payment like that, people are stretching their loans out longer than they ever used to. 72 months is common. 84 months is normal now. Some lenders will write you a note for 96 months, which is 8 years of payments on a machine that starts losing value the day you get it. And at the same time, the typical owner hangs on to their car for about 8 years total. Sit with those two facts side by side. The loans are getting as long as the ownership itself, which means a lot of people are finishing paying for the car right about the time they are ready to be done with it, if they even make it that far. That is the water everyone on this list is swimming in. There used to be a simpler idea of what a car was. You bought it, you kept it, you drove it until it owed you nothing, and by the end, the question of what it was worth on a lot barely mattered because you were never going to sell it anyway. Hold that idea in your head as we go through this list because almost every car on it is the opposite of that. This is the countdown of the new cars in America that get dumped fastest. And I'm going to give you the real reason for each one. Number 12 is one that surprises people because it is the cheapest new car you can buy in the country. The Mitsubishi Mirage G4 sells for under $18,000, and it is one of the most quickly resold mainstream cars on the road. Now, this one breaks the pattern in a way that is worth understanding. Nobody is overextending themselves on a Mirage. It is small, it is slow, it is about as basic as a new car gets in this decade. People buy it because it is cheap and it gets them moving, and then the first chance they get, they trade up out of it into something with a little more power and a little more room. It is a stepping stone, and stepping stones get stepped off of. And here's the quiet truth. Even at the bottom of the price ladder, even the cheapest new car in America still comes with a payment. And once someone is already making a payment every month, the jump to a slightly nicer car feels smaller than it should. So the Mirage becomes the thing you buy to get into the game and then leave the moment you can. Right at the bottom of this list, you already have your first lesson. A car can come back fast because it disappointed someone who reached too high or because it was only ever meant to be temporary. Same result on paper, completely different story underneath. Number 11 is the Mini Clubman, and about 11 and a half of every 100 come back inside the first year, better than 3 times the average. On paper, the Mini is a fun little thing, and I get why people fall for the styling, but it carries a problem that catches owners off guard. It is one of the most expensive vehicles in its size class, and it drinks more fuel than you would ever expect for something that small. You buy it thinking you are getting a cheap, cheerful runabout, and the running costs quietly tell you otherwise. So people trade it in for something that is either genuinely cheaper to feed or actually roomier for the money. The badge got them in the door. The math got them back out. Number 10 is the Jaguar F-Pace, with just over 13 of every 100 sold again inside a year. This is where the list starts climbing into the luxury badges, and it stays there almost all the way to the top. The Jaguar has a reputation, and it is not a secret one. Jaguars have long been known for costing a small fortune to keep on the road once you own one. The company knows it too. They have fought that perception hard in recent years, cutting prices and even throwing in free scheduled maintenance on new cars, which is not the move of a brand that feels confident people will stick around. The car looks the part, drives well enough, and then the ownership experience arrives, and a good number of first owners decide they would rather someone else deal with what comes next. Remember the old idea we started with, the car you keep until it owes you nothing. The F-Pace is the modern opposite of that. People are getting out before the bill they are worried about ever shows up. And the fact that the maker is giving away maintenance to keep them tells you everything about which way the wind blows on this one. Number 9 is the BMW 5 Series, also right around 13 and a half of every 100. This is a proper executive sedan, the kind of car people aspire to for years, and a lot of them are gone in 12 months. Part of this is simply how these cars are bought now. They are leased and financed and cycled, treated less like a purchase and more like a rotating subscription to whatever is newest. The buyer wants the current shape, the latest screen, the freshest badge, and the moment the next thing arrives, the last thing gets pushed back out into the market. And part of it is timing. A German luxury sedan is a wonderful thing to own while the factory is still paying for its problems. The trouble tends to start right around the moment the warranty runs out. And a lot of first owners know that in their gut, so they get out while the car is still undercover and still worth something. Better to be the person selling the nearly new one than the person holding it the month after the coverage lapses. Either way, the 5 Series moves through hands quickly, and every time it changes hands, someone is making money on the transaction except the person who owned it. Number 8 is the Land Rover Discovery, with close to 14 of every 100 resold inside the year. And now we are into the brand that basically owns this entire list. Land Rover builds a genuinely capable, genuinely desirable vehicle. And it also builds vehicles with a long-standing reputation for being troublesome and costly to keep running. Those two things live in the same truck, and that is the tension at the heart of the whole brand. It will climb a mountain and cross a river, and it will also empty your wallet doing ordinary things a plainer truck would shrug off. People buy the Discovery for the image and the capability. They picture the adventure in the advertisement, and a meaningful slice of them decide fairly early that the reliability worry sitting in the back of their mind is not worth the stress of ownership. So it goes back low miles, nearly new, and it becomes a very tempting deal for the next person who has not read the same warnings or who simply plans to sell it before the same clock runs out on them. Hold that thought because it is the whole payoff of this list. Number 7 is the Mercedes-Benz C-Class at 14 of every 100. And this is a car that has sat near the top of these lists for a very long time. The C-Class is the entry point into the Mercedes world. It is the badge people want at the price they can just about stretch to. And that is exactly the problem. A lot of buyers get in expecting the full big Mercedes experience. And what they get is a smaller car on a more modest platform that happens to wear the same star on the hood. When the reality does not match the fantasy and the payments do not get any smaller, the car goes back. The badge writes a check the compact executive cannot quite cash for everyone who buys it. Number 6 is the Range Rover Evoque, and now the numbers jump. Over 16 of every 100 Evoques are resold within the first year. That is roughly 1 in 6. The Evoque is a fashion statement first and a Land Rover second, and it sells beautifully on looks, but it carries the same reliability reputation as the rest of the family, and it is not a large or especially practical vehicle for the money. So you get a lot of people who bought with their eyes, lived with it for a few months, and quietly moved on. This is a car people fall in love with in the showroom and fall out of love with in the service department. Number 5 is the Mercedes-Benz GLA at just under 17 of every 100. The GLA is the small SUV entry into Mercedes, and it repeats the pattern the C-Class started. People want the badge on something that sits a little higher off the ground. What they get is a genuinely small vehicle with a cramped back seat and modest cargo room that happens to be wearing a premium price tag. Owner satisfaction on this one has run low for exactly that reason. You pay luxury money and you get luxury badging, but the space and the everyday usefulness do not always follow. So a lot of GLAs are back on the market before their first birthday, and someone is buying them nearly new for a lot less than the original owner paid. Number 4 is the Mercedes-Benz CLA, and now we are over 20 of every 100. 1 in 5 gone inside a year. The CLA is styled to look like a shrunken version of the expensive Mercedes sedans, and that styling does a lot of heavy lifting at the point of sale. It is the cheapest way into a 4-door Mercedes, and cheap ways into expensive brands attract exactly the buyers most likely to feel the strain. This is the heart of the whole luxury pattern. The models that come back fastest are overwhelmingly the entry-level versions of premium brands, the ones bought to reach for a badge, and reaching costs money every month, whether the fantasy held up or not. Number 3 is the Mercedes-Benz GLB, with over 21 of every 100 resold in the first year. That is a genuinely striking number for a mainstream premium SUV. The GLB is the boxy little 3-row that promises Mercedes space at a Mercedes entry price, and it is one of the most quickly abandoned new vehicles in the country. By now, you can probably write the reason yourself. Entry into the brand, stretched budgets, a vehicle that has to carry the weight of a badge and a family both, and a payment that does not care how you feel about it. When it does not deliver the experience the star on the hood promised, back it goes. Number 2 is the Porsche Macan, and this is a big one with over 22 of every 100 sold again within the first year. More than 1 in 5 brand new Macans is back on the used market before it turns a year old. The Macan is the affordable way into Porsche, the gateway into the badge, and it single-handedly drives Porsche to the highest first-year resale rate of any manufacturer on the market. Think about what that tells you. This is one of the most desirable brand names in the world, and the entry model into it is being handed back faster than almost anything else on the road. It is among the priciest vehicles in its class. It is thirsty, and it does not carry as much cargo as its rivals for the money. People buy it to own a Porsche, to have that name on the back of the thing in their driveway, and then they discover that owning a Porsche is expensive in every single direction. From the fuel to the tires to the service, and out it goes. There's also a quieter reason this number runs so high, and it's not really about the buyers at all. I will come back to it before we are done, because it is the same reason the whole German luxury end of this list is puffed up beyond what fickle owners alone could explain. And number 1, the most quickly abandoned new car in America is the Land Rover Discovery Sport. This is not close. More than 28 of every 100 are resold within the first year, nearly 3 out of every 10. That is almost 8 times the national average, and it is the single clearest data point on this entire list. The Discovery Sport is the entry Land Rover, the accessible way into the brand, and it combines every single theme we have walked through into one vehicle. It has the reliability reputation the whole family carries around like a shadow. It has the running costs that come with the badge. It is bought heavily on image by people reaching for a premium name at a price they can just about touch. And nearly a third of them decide within 12 months that they want out. Let that land properly. You could line up 10 people driving a brand new one off the lot, and before a year is gone, 3 of them will have already sold it. That is not a car with a quality problem in the ordinary sense. It runs, it drives, it does what it says on the tin. It is a car with an expectations problem and an ownership cost problem, bought by exactly the kind of buyer most likely to feel both. It is the poster child for the entire phenomenon, and the reason it sits at the very top of this list is the the same reason every car below it is here at all. Now, here's the turn, and this is the part I told you would actually bother you, because the natural question is, where does all that money go? When someone dumps a $50,000 or $60,000 luxury SUV within the first year, they do not do it for free. Depreciation is the single largest cost of owning a car, bigger than fuel, bigger than insurance, bigger than repairs. And it is the one cost nobody at the dealership talks about, because you never write a check for it. A typical new car loses somewhere around a fifth of its value in the first year alone. And the luxury and European models on this list lose it faster and harder than average. So on a $60,000 Land Rover, the person who bought it new and let it go 12 months later handed over $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 in value in 1 year of driving, gone. And that money did not evaporate. It moved. Follow it. The dealer sold that person the new car and made money on the sale. The lender wrote the loan on the full sticker price and collected interest for every month it was held. And on a stretched out luxury loan, those early payments are almost all interest anyway. So the bank did just fine in 12 months. Then the exact same car comes back, nearly new, low miles, still smelling new, and the dealer sells it a second time to the next buyer and makes money again. The depreciation the first owner ate is the discount the second buyer gets, and the second margin the dealer keeps. One car, one steep drop in value, and it becomes profit for the dealer twice, and interest for the bank in between. The first owner paid for the privilege of being the one who drove it off the lot. That is the entire transaction. And the only person standing in it who lost real money is the one who thought they were buying a dream, instead of renting the newest badge for a year at a truly punishing daily rate. And then there is the quieter piece I promised you, the one that inflates the German luxury numbers especially. It is a practice the industry calls car punching. Dealers register brand new cars as sold, often to use them as loaners or demonstrators, which boosts their sales figures and helps the brand hit its targets. And then a few months later, those same barely used cars are sold again as year-old used vehicles. Some of the resale rate on these badges is not fickle buyers at all. It is the dealers themselves gaming the numbers. Either way, the machine wins. There is no money in you buying one simple, honest car and keeping it for 20 years. There is a very great deal of money in you cycling through a new badge every couple of years on a loan stretched out to 7 years that you will trade out of long before you ever finish paying. The villain here is not a person, it is the flow of money, and the whole system is quietly tuned to reward the churn. Let me pull back from the numbers for a second, because there is something worth sitting with here. A car used to be a thing you owned. You bought it, you learned it, you kept it, and by the time it was done, it had earned its keep many times over. And what it was worth to a stranger never entered your mind. Somewhere along the way, for a lot of people, the car stopped being a thing you own and became a thing you rent from your own future. You take on the newest badge, you carry the biggest payment you can bear, you hand it back before the warranty is even cold, and you start the whole cycle again. The car became a costume instead of a tool, and the quiet cost of that is not just the money, though the money is real. It is that a car stops being something you have a relationship with and becomes something you are always in the middle of replacing. The satisfaction of a paid-off, well-understood machine that owes you nothing, that you can keep for a decade without a second thought. That is the thing being traded away, one nervous first owner at a time. So here's what I want you to take from all of this. First, remember, the real number. I'm better than 96 out of 100 people keep their new car past the first year because keeping it is the sane and normal thing to do. Dumping a nearly new car is the exception, and now you know why the exceptions happen. Second, and this matters, do not read this as a list of cars to run away from. Read it as a list of cars that come back nearly new with low miles and warranty still on them at thousands of dollars below what the first owner paid. Somebody else already absorbed the worst hit these vehicles will ever take. If you have always wanted a Macan or an Evoque and you are willing to buy the one that is a year old instead of the one on the showroom floor, this list is not a warning to you. It is a shopping guide. You let the first owner eat the depreciation and you buy the same car for the discount. And third, if you are buying new, buy it to keep it. The depreciation on this list only hurts the people who get rid of the car early. Buy something you actually want to own for years that you can afford without stretching to the badge, and drive it long enough that what it is worth on a lot stops mattering. That is how you step off the churn entirely. Picture the version of you a few years from now who bought the sensible thing, paid it off, and is still driving it with no payment and no itch to trade, while the person who bought the badge is 3 cars deep and still making payments. One of those people is quietly winning, and it is not the one with the newest hood ornament. Tell me in the comments below what you have seen with your own eyes on this. Did you ever buy a car that somebody else dumped nearly new? And what did you pay for it compared to the sticker on a fresh one? Or the other side of it, what is the fastest you ever got rid of a car you just bought? And what was the real reason you did it? Tell me your part of the world too, because the way these cars move is different depending on where you are, and I read every single comment that comes in. Those replies, the stories from people who have actually lived this are the reason I keep making these. And subscribe before you go, because the next one is a good one. Everybody has heard the phrase filled for life when it comes to the fluid in a modern transmission. No maintenance, never needs changing, sealed up at the factory, one less thing to worry about. Here is the part they are quietly counting on you not to ask. Whose life exactly? Because the life that fluid is filled for and the life you are hoping to get out of that gearbox are two very different numbers. And the sealed pan with no dipstick is the first clue that somebody made a decision about your car that was never really about you. That is where we are going next. Until then, the next time a salesman tells you a car holds its value, ask him why so many of them come back. The answer is usually standing right there on the used lot behind him.